Once again, I gotta ask, who do I gotta murder to get a Liquid Death sponsorship around here? How you guys doing? I'm your benevolent leader, Von Fry. Today we're talking about Star Wars so that we can game the system for views. This isn't that the way everything works around here. You either talk about Star Wars or you slam Captain Marvel, then you blow up. Weirdly enough, in theory, if you just chased the dollar signs, once I had the first negative review on YouTube of The Force Awakens, I should have just kept talking about that for the next 10 years. And then I'd be world famous, right? Because that's the way this stuff works. I have a new setup. We're in OBS here. We've got a few things going on. Check this out. Let's see if this works. Bam! We just changed it up. Now we've got a display over here that is stuck. Wonderful. Ah, that's not good. So now what do I do to unstick that? That's not going to work. Okay. Yep, that was smooth. So now we should be good to react to the Skeleton Crew official trailer. Now, here's the thing. This is the next Disney thing in the pipeline, post-Acolyte. I don't know when this takes place. I know Jude Law's there. I've seen ads for Disney+. Heaven help us. Here we go. All right, we got 80s music.
What are you in for?
I found something buried in the
Whoa.
woods.
Dad.
This is unacceptable. Do you understand?
This is not very Star Wars-like. We're doing Star Wars E.T. Goonies thing here.
Don't touch anything.
This looks like Excuse Pretty Young.
What did you do?
We're lost. Really lost.
The kids are lost. That's what
Stay
kids
together.
do.
We just need some directions home.
Come on, kid. Pay up.
Is that one of those Max Rebo things, the elephant-looking guy?
Credit.
Over here, quick. I'll get you home. We'll make a partnership. But we have to move fast.
The kids are the Skeleton Crew. They've got to partner with
I need you to take the control.
not Han Solo, Jude Law.
Okay.
Neil? Neil?
Super appropriate to have our 80s American, or is it English, Earth song in a trailer for Star Wars. Yep, this is the way Disney will do things. What the, hold the hell up. Whoa. That right there, this is Star Wars, guys. And we have the neighborhood from E.T. Oh, jeez. You can't have Star Wars looking that much like 1982 America. That's brutal. And I'm not just saying just we have like a kind of squared off car, but we have neighborhoods. That's not the way one envisions Star Wars to be.
Something's wrong.
They're not going to just turn up. We need to find them.
No one ever says we don't need to find the kids, right? We need to find them. It's always, yeah, no kidding. Ooh, CGI explosion in space. Danger, kids. I don't think the kids are gonna pop a cap in anybody, or blast or someone in the knee. Okay, that honestly could have been worse. I'm not really sure what we expect out of Disney Star Wars. And you always do have to put the Disney in front so that people know what you're talking about. Hey, I'm a fan of Star Wars. Okay, me too. I'm a fan of Disney Star Wars. That's sus. See, you gotta differentiate these things, So that Skeleton Crew. Look, the parents find the kids. Are they going to go back into space with Jude Law? Like, can you get a second season out of this? At one point in time, would a story like this have been more conducive to the big screen and then we can have like a one-off, like a Star Wars story, right? Solo, a Star Wars story. Imagine if Disney absorbed James Bond and we had Dr. No Part 20, no, what is it? Dr. No 18 Octopussy, a James Bond story. That's what they would call it, because the Bean Counter marketing asshats said, people are confused, you have to put Star Wars in there. Well, people went to go see The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi without it saying Star Wars in the title as blatant. So that was Skeleton Crew. Jude Law, I kind of expect to be a bad guy at this point. Did he sign some deal with It's like, look, see, I got to get in a movie. What do I do? I got to be like the second half villain for Captain Marvel, sure. I'll do that if you get me in a Star Wars thing. Oh, not a Star Wars movie? So it's a streaming series? I gotta eat, right? So that's the situation we are in with Star Wars. I feel like, even if you like The Mandalorian first season, which I think most people will say is the best of... Let's get this down back to a cool solo shot of me. People will say that's the best version of Star Wars on Disney Plus as the streaming series go. And as the seasons get on in The Mandalorian, it gets worse. I haven't actually seen season 3. I believe that's one where Mando is even more pushed aside to make room for Princess from Battlestar Galactica or whatever. If Mandalorian's the best thing you got going for Star Wars TV, and then you say, we need more of that, did you ever need it in the first place? Because you have so much fizz in here. You've diluted the brand. When there is less Star Wars is stronger. When Star Wars is everywhere and you got that meme, hey, I want to go see the new Star Wars. We have Star Wars at home. The Star Wars at home is Mandalorian season 3, right? Well, you've diluted the brand, because that's what invariably will happen with anything nowadays. A mom and pop shop can't exist forever, because eventually you blow up, you go public. We'll use WWE as an example. You go public, and the next thing you know, you don't have your scruples, or even business acumen. You're doing things dirty, and you have to appease the shareholders no matter what. You have to go, oh, this makes the most money, so we have to do it. And that's the only way you can do things. And it's terrible. So what's the best way to make more Star Wars money? Like, keep making Star Wars. Disney did not buy Star Wars to preserve the integrity of Star Wars. If Walt Disney was running the company, sure. Under Walt Disney's watch, they didn't have a bunch of direct-to-video Peter Pan 2, Lion King 1.5 sequels to get people to keep buying stuff, right? But Michael Eisner goes, oh yeah, that's fine. You know, it's kind of not that official because it's a straight-to-video thing. We do big business with the video. Then and people thought that was frowned upon. Now look where we are 20 years later, where we beaten dead horses, resurrecting them. Somehow the dead horse has returned. And then this sort of thing happens. And now we've got too much Star Wars. We already had way too much Marvel. And that, I don't even know what they're doing over there with this Captain America Brave New World, where it's like, we had a guy named Falcon for several movies, but now he's going to be called Captain America. Well, it was like that in the comics, right? And now you've delayed this to the point that I've seen the toys advertised at McDonald's for like a year. So before that sort of thing should be coinciding with the weekend that the movie comes out. And Star Wars used to do big money with toys. Look at World Class Bullshitters. They have a guy, super lazy videos, just walks down to Ollie's, looks at all the Rose Ticos, the blue guy, Blue Man Group, whatever, Vice, I don't know. The guy that survived a lightsaber because his people may have a second lung or something like this. All these things happen, And then they don't sell because kids don't play with the figures. The figures really are more for the adults. When the prices go up on the figures, what parents buying that for their kid? You got a Star Wars figure at home. You got my Star Wars figures at home. We've had Star Wars Legos everywhere. You don't need more of it. So now it's just for the collectors, but the things aren't expensive. So what is there to collect? And the fact that they don't go up in value is what I'm saying. As you get more Star Wars and you have more things to collect, then what is worth a damn? Only the original stuff. That's kind of how I'm kind of frowning on all the strategies in the car market, where it's like, hey, we've got a new Porsche 911 Speedster. You know, like that last one we did 10 years ago, and every 10 years we have a new version of the Speedster to try to look like the one from the 80s. And it's going to be like $300,000. Wow, it's a limited edition. Except you know there's going to be more limited editions later. So what's so special about this, right? Because in 10 years, you're going to have a new Speedster that's going to be better. And it's also going to be limited edition. And it's going to be $1 million or whatever. So only the original is worth anything if you think about it. You wouldn't get the new Ferrari F80, I believe they're calling it. It looks hideous, but wouldn't that make it seem like maybe the F40, the first, well, it's not really the first, the 288 GTO. I'm getting into cars here, but as you get more and more Ferraris on the market, do Ferraris get less special? Kind of seems that way. At least there might be some way you could say the Ferraris on the road improved, the reliability, drivability, they're more comfortable, they have more luggage, better fuel economy, faster. Maybe they're not as good looking. Is Star Wars improving? The effects are looking worse because we just sit back and do everything with computer. And I mean, like I said there, you know they're not building model ships to put in space for this. Surely not. I think they might have with Mandalorian, but after a time, they don't keep doing that sort of thing. I do think that they did model ship building for Alien Romulus. But that is going to be a one-off niche thing for the theaters. Alien Romulus now streaming on Hulu. It might actually be on Disney Plus also, but it is certainly on Hulu. And I am going to have to watch that there. Weird that on Sony TVs with the Android, you don't actually get to watch 4K on that. You don't get the 4K experience. It's very weird. 4K and HDR are not there because Hulu, Disney has a problem with Android. Now, my Samsung, which has, they call their operating system Tizen, I think, it will play Hulu in 4K and stuff, but oh, you want to do it on a Sony? You better plug in your PS5 or some nonsense. Get some more devices hooked up. In the movie front of things for Star Wars, we have, it's not easy for me to see how long this has been going, actually. What buttons am I going to have to push over here? Can't really much tell. We have no chat, 4 views. Wow, this is, the more effort I put in, the less I get back. Welcome. All right, let's go back to the vlog view thing here. What do we do with Star Wars? Well, we've got Rey, right? And yeah, so everybody's got their theories about what we're going to do for the Rey trilogy. I have thought, from on seeing it, that The Last Jedi, it could have ended in a way that would have been unintentionally brilliant, far smarter than anybody making the movie. But if Rey had a heel turn, you got all the little girls in the crowd and they're dressed with their Rey get-ups and whatever, and they have their sticks and things. And then at the end, Rey joins forces with Kylo Ren. And the rest of the good guys, they're just like shook, traumatized. They're running away. You end on that low note for the heroes, like Empire Strikes Back. But now you don't really see how they get out of it. Now, if she takes Kylo's hand and you end it right there, Luke Skywalker's still alive. So now you get the impression that like Finn and Poe, C-3PO, Chewbacca, R2-D2, BB-8, they're going to have to get team up with Luke Skywalker, and he may tell them the whole story or whatever. She realizes she's a Palpatine. You never have to have Palpatine return, because now the dual threat of Kylo Ren and Rey Palpatine is good enough that our remaining heroes could come together, have insurmountable odds. Instead, Rey, who does everything that's perfect, still remains unchallenged and perfect at everything. Kylo has not been a threat because he's been bested by Rey at any turn. So what is the real problem here? Luke Skywalker just gets tired of explaining things to these kids and checks out. And you do that too early here. You can't kill off Luke Skywalker at all. And you certainly can't do it at the end of the second film there, because then who's excited to see where this story goes? Oh, well, you got John Boyega, and he's over there saying, Rey, I've got something to tell you. No, I've got an ad. My God. Rey, there's something I got to tell you. Is this working right? Hopefully. Yeah, it kind of looks like it might be. And we never find out what it is. It must not have been that important. Oh, are we going to wait some more years? And then once the Rey trilogy gets going, side man over here, Finn, can be like, oh, finally, I get to tell you that thing, you know? And it's like, oh, it was nothing, right? There'll be some in-joke like that, like little thing. Poe Dameron probably gets killed. I don't think he's interested in being there. We ultimately didn't do a whole lot with that character, but I feel like there might be things yet to explore with Finn. But is anybody actually interested? And we know that we can't have a Finn Disney Plus series because John Boyega says you ain't going to Disney Plus me. Where are your movie roles after Pacific Rim 2? I don't think you've been finding a lot of work, John Boyega, so I think you are going to settle for some Disney Plusification should the contract be offered to you, frankly. So if he is in Rey's trilogy, he will again be some kind of weird non-romance character. Like it seems weird that they're not an item. There will be like other gals showing up, and I'm going to get pop-ups and all kinds of crap up here. But that's what I get for trying to do this. Yep. John Boyega's honest thoughts on Star Wars return after slamming Disney proves there's still a way to get him back. That's where they're at over there at Disney. Complete panic. What worked for us? Oh, we killed off Iron Man, but people really liked Robert Downey Jr., so I guess you're here for life. Is anyone going to be excited for Secret Wars or whichever Avengers thing is coming next? I know I'm not, but some people might be initially curious. Even if they've been turned off by the solo projects and the non-Avengers things in the meantime, there will be some curiosity to it. So, yeah, if you're playing a different role, oh, Mr. Viper, get to you in a second there. If you got these guys in different roles returning, do you get anything out of the audience for that? So, or is this going to be a real test to see how much people like Robert Downey Jr. to be like, okay, so you get to be Doctor Doom now. Cool, I can't wait to see you do a 20-year run of Doctor Doom. Or are we going to get tired of that pretty quick? What if you wanted Mark Hamill back in Star Wars? But they've been very consistent about not recasting people outside of tales that take place in the past, right? So it's like, oh, this is far enough in the past, we can get a little kid to play Luke Skywalker. So can we tell Luke Skywalker's story set in this time? How do we get Mark Hamill back into it? He'd be a villain, right? because people like his Joker. So what if there was a villain they could cook up where basically Mark Hamill got to do his Joker voice, right? Would he like that? Would the public like that? I'd like to know about that. I should probably set something up so that I can actually see, or we can have the questions on the screen, but I don't know how that stuff works. Mr. Viper says, isn't Star Wars dying? I think it's... it was hard to tell Star Wars was dying when there was way less Star Wars. When we had only the original trilogy, and then we had books and we had games, but we had a lot of innovation in the games, that keeps a thing alive, right? And there's also a lack of competition. Look, in the late 90s, before Episode 1 comes out, you kind of had Star Trek and James Bond as properties you had to keep track of, right? Jurassic Park had a sequel. Like, there were movies that had a sequel, right? Terminator had a sequel. But as the franchises go, okay, there were 3 Rambos at the time. Like, you see how easy this is? Now you have to have a college class to keep track of all the Marvel characters and the Star Wars stuff also. And as people go by not watching or paying attention to Star Wars, you don't really grow a Star Wars fan base. You just have to like take the money from those who you can still get it from. The people that are in the cult, the people who go to the, what is it? The Disney Expo, where, hey, we got to show you some Star Wars thing. And here's the roadmap for all the movies coming out. Never liked that approach. Makes the ones that come next look like they're skippable. Oh, well, nothing too bad can happen if we know something else is around the corner, so these guys can't be dead yet, whatever, right? Robert Downey Jr. in Tropic Thunder. He was in that. Yes. Haven't seen Tropic Thunder in a while. But, yeah, I would say... man, just don't be too surprised if Mark Hamill finds a way back into Star Wars. You know, he's supposed to be leaving the country because he's so upset at people for voting for Donald Trump. I think there's a lot of insincerity when it comes to the anti-Trump stances on things from the Hollywood mouthpieces. They're grandstanding to get roles and whatever favor. Maybe he has like a passion project he wants greenlit. So if he looks like he's taking the biggest stance against Trump, then, okay, sure, we'll throw you a bone, right? Like, does that help seal the deal for him? Mr. Viper says, Mark Hamill should just stay as the Joker in every series. I feel like you can get Mark Hamill as the Joker very affordably, right? He's willing to supply the voice. I don't think it's all that amazing, really. Okay, good. But now we have a lot of people who are kind of doing their own Joker thing, or we can have somebody sub in and out for the Joker. Look, if you can't get Kevin Conroy as Batman, do you then have to have Mark Hamill as Joker? It would seem like if you can't get one, then you may as well save money and not get the other, right? Seems that way to me. Technically, Disney Plus is making movies for Star Wars, but I don't understand the series. They keep releasing set the Mandalorians. You mean accept? You don't understand the series they keep releasing? And it's hard talking about series because series is both plural and singular. Except the Mandalorian, I guess. When the Mandalorian was announced, I was immediately confused because I thought, first of all, I thought a Mandalorian was a creature, like a race, but then as he points out on the show, it's a creed, like an occupation or something. But it's like, okay, it's not about Boba Fett, but then are all Mandalorians essentially bounty hunters? They seem to dress the same. Regardless of what they've got underneath their armor, they have to dress very similar, and they seem to be bounty hunters. So yeah, it seemed like a confusing thing to me at first. And then quickly you understand that it's going to be about him chaperoning this baby Yoda, as everybody was calling him, which you knew it's not Yoda, right? And we didn't call Yoda because that was his alien race, correct? So if that's the case, then why were people calling him Baby Yoda? I mean, the merchandise simply said the child, right? So yeah, that is off-putting to be like, hey, we're calling him the child, and then we'll give him a name, Grogu. I've heard people say that that's a character from some books, and then you get on the goodwill of some of the crowd to be like, hey, we'll pull things out of the extended universe on occasion and then put our own spin on it. But then we'll call that the Legends. People were really upset when Disney first did that, and they said, yeah, we're going to toss aside all the extended universe stuff and call those Legends. People were upset. To me, it seemed like the inevitable thing Disney would do, because there were too many things said and done which would have resulted in a lack of direction forward for the franchise. So, I mean, wasn't there a Legends book that had Chewbacca crushed by a moon? Like a moon collided into a planet or something happened, and he was on the place during the collision. And so Chewbacca gets killed. So then if that was established to have happened in a certain time, then you couldn't have Chewbacca later. Like that would probably have actually resulted in Chewbacca not being available for The Force Awakens, I would think. But yeah, Disney said, you know what? All those characters you had there, George, those are cool. We're going to use them to help sell tickets and then diminish all of their accomplishments and kill them off so that they can be replaced by our vision. And we think that's going to sell us more toys, because now all the little girls like Star Wars and they're going to need Rey stuff. We already had the white boys money, so now we've got the diverse kids. We got to go pander to them. And then we can take their money, and then we make all the money. And that's what we have to do, because the bean counter said, we're already pleasing this group over here, so we need this one over here so we can take both of them. But when it's George Lucas, he goes, I'm going to tell the story I want to tell. Doesn't work. Now, big corporation buys stuff, and you are pretty much out of luck, right? So that was really all I had that I was going to go through here. No, we got more questions coming in. I have to go to work now. Hope you get some a good one. Are we talking as Jar Jar Binks here? Man, I think people are kind of looking back at Jar Jar Binks now with rose-colored glasses. The Halcyon days were the worst thing in Star Wars was Jar Jar Binks. The guy who inadvertently brought Emperor Palpatine to power. Darth Sidious, right? Yeah, I think that now we can't look at the sequel trilogy and think this was definitely better than the prequel trilogy. The prequel, a lot of redundant things happen. A lot of the effects look unfinished by today's standards, but there was more story to be told. It was, there was a lot of inevitable things that would happen, right? Especially if you were more familiar with the characters from the original trilogy and where they needed to get going. This kid has to become Darth Vader somehow. But I think it's more interesting than what we got with the sequel trilogy. The prequels, they didn't say, oh, this is a prequel to Star Wars. Let's make sure that the first movie is exactly like the 77 film Star Wars. Nope. There wasn't a lot of stuff borrowed. There's a lot of brand new things. There was a 50s diner for the heck of it in the movie that didn't need to be there. But at least it wasn't the same stuff reskinned and populated by whatever's the most marketable assets we can get. And okay, fine. The Chinese don't really want the black guy on the poster. We can move him in the back and put like some fire in front of him, kind of like make it hard to tell what ethnicity he is. Like they could do stuff like that. But you can't really criticize China, can you? So yeah, we're going to wrap things up here. Started late, but I'm curious if this worked better. It looks like higher res. That's what I know about that. So, yeah. Oh, well. Yeah, I forgot how we're supposed to wrap this up. I got smoke and things, and then I have to unceremoniously hit the stop streaming button over here. So let's get that started up. Take one last sip, and if you made it this far, wait until marriage counseling. Or do I blink the other eye? Can't remember. All right, now out of curiosity, I'm wondering if this has resumed. It says streaming. Okay, so we're kind of resuming the stream only because I thought this had ended. I hit the button on OBS to say stop streaming, but maybe I didn't hit end broadcast. So then people joined in the live chat after the fact and were like, oh, did I miss it? Like, okay, goodness sake. Yeah, I pretty much said my piece on Star Wars stuff. Mentioned that we shouldn't be surprised if Mark Hamill returns because what else is he going to do? It shouldn't be lagging. Don's here saying, is it lagging? Eric's saying, hey, did it freeze? Whatever. I hadn't done an OBS live to YouTube before to know that this is what would happen. I mean, look, you got two buttons over here. Stop streaming. Okay. And end broadcast. So once you hit stop streaming, isn't that the end? But maybe that's like a, I don't know, pause. Like why not just call that pause then if that's what we're going to do? So yeah, we actually ended up with 4 people sitting here going, oh, hey, did I miss it? You know, it's a good thing I started about 30 minutes late because I was trying to figure out how to get this going to begin with. And I'm trying to hold back a sneeze. But then once I did, it's not like anybody showed up. You know, we had one guy in the chat. And I mean, I can answer some Star Wars questions if you've got them here. But now it looks like you guys all left also. And wait, what's the future of Disney? Well, I think that the Trump victory shows us like that the Donald Trump beating Kamala Harris is going to go down as what killed the woke era. Already, we have in the news the possibility of the Redskins logo coming back with everybody wanting the Redskins name back. Today, during football, I saw an Apple commercial. Like this is actually it might have been during Prime, but it's a TV commercial. All right. It's not just some web ad from a small company. This is Apple. All right. White family with white kids. Let me say that again. Let me be clear. White family, white kids. Dad is not the butt of the joke. In fact, he gets like Apple AirPods Pro 2 and they have a hearing aid function. But that is signaling that the woke thing is done. The anti-woke have the numbers, and now we have to find ways to keep those people happy instead of twisting their arm and getting them to believe in our ethics and things. So all the woke stuff I mean, as we still see a little bit of woke, like the Jaguar ad, that was something that you come up with when you think Kamala Harris is going to win and we're going to like go double down, be more woke, and there's going to be, everybody's going to talk about how woke they are, and it's going to be amazingly woke. They're going to have to make an about face, pay somebody like $30 million to convince them to bring back the old logo, things like that, right? Disney, being a corporation, having to do what will make them the most money, might actually do the anti-woke thing and try to get back into entertainment. It may be slow and painful trying to get there, but yeah. And in order to do that, you do get rid of you are going to have a Kathleen Kennedy-ectomy. She'll have to be excised. Is this back live again? Eric, yes, because I screwed up and I hit stop streaming thinking that would end the stream, but then there's a button next to it that says end broadcast. So hadn't done this before, screw it, you know? What's new on the Rey trilogy? Is it canceled? We got into that for a second. Check this out. We got fancy transitions. Kaboom. There's John Boyega over there. Let's see. We go over. Oh, yeah. What? Now look. There's people trying to float these theories that maybe Rey becomes like the new Darth Vader. So the Rey trilogy could actually end with her rise to the dark side. She doesn't have any more mentors, but did she ever need a mentor when she was essentially, the greatest thing that ever happened? And by the way, that's stuck, so I can't really show you the screen here. How did I get that to fix? I'm trying to figure that out. I don't know why, but this thing likes to get stuck sometimes. But, let's see, there we go. That capture is a little wonky, but look. Star Wars, turning Rey into Darth Vader's replacement makes a huge Rise of Skywalker failure look even worse. I disagree, Screen Rant. In fact, I would relish Rey Palpatine truly becoming the bad, right? Wouldn't that actually make things more interesting? Instead of Rey unchecked with amazing power of all the Jedi and no mentor figure, not that she ever needed one, kicking ass and taking names, can't get a scratch, never loses a fight, never has a bruise. Yeah, I mean, she's worse than Neo. Once Neo flies at the end of the Matrix, there's nowhere else for the story to go. So that's why people ultimately hated the next two Matrix films. Though I think the third one showed us a little more of what we hadn't seen before. You know, you had those like robot armored suits that you come to, I guess now are more fondly associated with Avatar. But that concluded in a real world type way. Wars always end with a peace treaty, right? That's the realistic way to do stuff. And people are upset about that because in movies, it's total annihilation, complete clear victory, no truce, right? So I actually thought that was really quite novel. We can't really have that in Star Wars, right? Like it has to be a super ultimate defeat. And Rey's so incredibly awesome. She vanquished all the things the Skywalkers couldn't do and got rid of Palpatine, and now somehow Palpatine can't return. So what is left for Rey to do? Become the bad guy, get corrupted with power. Maybe cute boy turns her down and she turns evil. Like, I don't know where we could go with this, but I would be more inclined to give it a damn if I knew or thought that she was going to be angled towards the bad side. That's my thought on that. Eric says he likes Rey. Come on now. No, hold on here, guys. Love those white burglar ADT commercials. How about when they have a burglar uniform and it's like, guys, we're going burgling. Come on, you got to get the black balaclava and matching black, let's get the black Air Force Ones, all this stuff, right? And it's clearly white guys, because if it was black guys, they'd put on a hoodie and then just call it good. If you see black guys, a black guy with a hood up go into a store, get your phone out and start recording things, because something's going down, or run. Yeah. Will you watch the new Wicked movie? You know what? I have a free movie ticket. And I had been entertaining the idea of seeing that Gladiator 2 Electric Boogaloo, but I just really haven't given much thought to any of them. But the more I see of those cringe, weird press junkets of the Wicked girls, now I am actually more curious about Wicked. Does that make sense? It's the craziest, weirdest press junket stuff, talking about holding space and bringing your power to whatever, and it's just, it has such an impact on the community. You know, I'm in the trans community, whatever, and we're holding the space, and oh my God, I had no idea. It's like, oh my, now I'm kind of actually curious, because it's like, what kind of weird message are we putting in these movies while we're putting them out in the Biden administration, right? We've got this thing going crazy over here with ads and whatnot. Come on. Let's just go back to good old John Boyega over there. Or you know what? Back to the solo screen. There we go. What do you guys think of the new setup? Does this look almost professional? Kind of need background music playing, you know, get yourself some copyright strikes, right? Eric, we'll get to you now. I actually liked Rey. The way they formatted her character did not work. She never knew what she wanted, or the Mary Sue. Huh? Damn, Boyega must have pissed off so many producers. That cat disappeared. Yeah, I brought this up. Oh, what has he done since Pacific Rim 2, right? Hell, I don't even remember the name of that movie. It probably wasn't Pacific Rim 2. It probably had some other Pacific Rim Rise of the Triad or something. I don't know. Point I'm getting at is, this is a guy who needs work, and I think that he will now get Disney Plus. If they say, hey, we want to do a Finn Disney Plus series, he'll be like, where do I sign? You know, previously you weren't going to Disney Plus me. I'm a big time guy. No, you're not. So he's going to be like side piece in the Rey trilogy, or maybe he gets killed by Rey and that's how we know she's become super evil, right? There'll be something like that, and I'm not expecting Poe Dameron to be there, honestly. I feel like he thinks he's doing other things or whatever. He thinks he's going to make a Metal Gear Solid movie, sure. Don says, would you rather have 100,000 subs demonetized or become a writer on the next? I would rather, both of these sound like prison sentences, but the writer on the Star Wars series will probably pay more. And I feel like I would, look, if I was writing it, it wouldn't suck. So let's put it that way. I didn't know Wicked was a prequel. Well, who do you think the green chick is? And Ariana Grande is supposed to be, is it Glendola, the good witch? And then I guess they made up a name for the Wicked Witch of the West, because I don't remember her having a name. Then again, I'm an adult white dude, and I haven't seen The Wizard of Oz in ages. Something about a lollipop guild. You have to assemble the Warriors 3. And then you pour the water on the witch, but she has monkeys. I actually watched the black version of it on Netflix a few months ago. Diana Ross, not a good Dorothy. Like, she gets shown up by pretty much everybody else on set and seemed weirdly old for the role. I mean, shit, she already has a kid when they're shooting it, right? So, like, what was the point? Yeah. Why does everyone hate the prequels? Anakin was misunderstood. I think part of look, the storytelling in the prequels is not amazing stuff. But the prophecy, the one who brings balance to the Force. Well, let's think about this. If we're at power now and we're the good guys, do we want balance? A prophecy misunderstood, perhaps, or whatever Yoda says, right? that thing happens in the movie. I don't like us weighing in on prophecies. The only prophecy type thing that works in any movie is the Terminator, where you end up making the going after John Connor creates the John Connor that can take down Skynet. That actually works. There's some sound logic to that because of the time travel. But everything else just being Harry Potter, he's the chosen one. Anakin, you were the chosen one. Now do a flip over me and I'll cut your arms and legs off with the lightsaber, even though we had 3 movies for me to teach you not to attack the high ground. But you did it anyway. And you know, if they wanted to make him seem impulsive, they should have actually set up, I need to do a short on this. The high ground thing never worked for me. There was no setup and payoff. It was never set up. It was just, you can't win, I have the high ground. It's like, says who? When was this ever a thing, right? To me, that ruins the prequels way more than I think people understand, if we're being real. I watched Gladiator 2 and it was meh. What happened to Ridley Scott? Ridley Scott, you get a lot of hit and miss, man. Like, for every Thelma and Louise, you get the one where the wire cutter thing is like choking out Brad Pitt at the end. What was that? The broker or something? I don't know. The attorney. It was something like that. The stock exchange. I don't remember. Some of these directors put out a lot of product, so they're not going to be, the quality control's not necessarily there in the factory. All right. What will life be like without video games for you? I don't know. Probably. And honestly, I'm getting to the end of things I want to watch also. So it's kind of like, look, if your thing is traditional hand-drawn anime and 80s movies, then you eventually see them all or enough or something, right? So is Ariana Grande hot to you? Oh yeah, totally. If she hooks up with that, she dates Pete Davidson, that definitely raises her profile, right? That's so how that works. Actually, it seems like Pete Davidson dating her is the only reason anybody thereafter dated Pete Davidson. Was like, what does she see in him? Now I'm curious, right? Actually, let me check something here. Watch. What else do we have going? Who was the hottest character in Star Wars? Oh, no doubt. Okay, well, there are, okay. Some of them Twi'leks, not too bad. Remember that one that was, not the one from Flashdance, but the one that didn't have any lines, I think, in Book of Boba Fett? Yeah, and I think she got blown up when the casino exploded. That, not bad, but Padme, I think, probably the leader in the clubhouse there for most, but I had my dad take me to Return to Oz back in '85. He didn't speak to me for days. I believe that's the one with Fairuza Balk from the Craft, right? That's what I know her from, but I guess as a child actress, she did that Return to Oz, which I haven't seen, but I have somewhat sought out in that kind of labyrinth-like curiosity way. And I think it is like from MGM and like therefore kind of like official or something in some capacity. But is it now every 5 to 10 years we do some kind of new variation on Wizard of Oz? Wasn't there one called Oz with James Franco, or The Great and Powerful Oz, or something like we have to like redo this all the time. We can always go back to the Wizard of Oz apparently, right? What are your thoughts on Natalie Portman? Did not like her in the Thor stuff. That Thor Love and Thunder, brutal. The effort to try to ape the Guardians of the Galaxy comedy with all the Marvel properties is coming back to bite them in the ass tenfold. Captain America Brave New World, as best I can tell by it. And you know what? I haven't actually watched the trailer to it. Would that be something that we'd like me to try to do over here to like... It's Brave New World, right? Hold on, let me type that in. Oh, I'm spelling Captain terribly. Would we be down with me doing a bit of a trailer reaction here? This is Marvel new official trailer 2 weeks ago. I haven't seen this, so we're going to give it a shot, okay? Try not to have any weird stuff happen here.
You asked for me.
Who's this?
Here I am.
I see, I don't remember all these characters.
You want to help me? Is there anything you remember?
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States,
Good
Thaddeus
death.
Ross.
What? We're doing Air Force One again? Harrison Ford's president again? Man, he's ancient as hell. I guess it makes sense, you know, because Biden's president.
Whatever this is, Cap, be careful.
Yeah, I told him be careful. Am I
we
supposed to
know?
recognize him?
There were 5 shooters. This was a coordinated terrorist attack, sir.
What
I
is
was a
this
wartime
editing?
Now I'm a wartime president.
Okay, am I wrong, or does this look like a Jack Ryan movie?
Watch yourself.
Clear and present danger,
You're
too.
not Steve Rogers. You're right. I'm not.
No kidding, you're not Steve Rogers. Thanks for clarifying that in the trailer.
Wait for it.
What would they wait for? The shockwave is slow.
We're on the brink of war. I can't trust anyone.
There's always that you can't trust anyone. Shit,
Nothing about this
did
feels right.
Don't Trust Anyone come up in Indiana Jones 3 in the trailer? Because I know the villain says it. Got this little
Someone's been
You can
pulling
just do
the
anything
strings
you
on
want with
everything.
vibranium now,
You're
can't
under
you?
arrest. I don't want a variable out there that I can't control.
There's got to be a strong, empowered white girl.
You like to play dress up and blindly
Oh,
execute.
so I've heard that Giancarlo Esposito, however he pronounces his name, was added to the movie. Like, after the fact, like they've added him in the reshoots. Will it be evident?
You want me? Come and get me.
Oh my, there's so much green screen. They can't be bothered to actually go anywhere. They couldn't get the cherry blossoms in season, so they green screened it all. Oh my god. Oh no, guys. Oh. Wow. Look what you made me do. Man. Anthony Mackie, not a movie star. Some of these guys, they're hanging around the Marvel stuff long enough that they think they're movie stars, and now we're ending up where shit, Anthony Mackie, he's going to have to like get into Star Wars, you know, because they're going to kind of just pick people and then move them between the two. Like, look, Han Solo's dead, but we can bring you back over here as somebody else because that actor died and shit. Okay, we want Lando back in there, but we couldn't get the little comedian guy from the community college show, so bring in Anthony Mackie. Like, things like that will happen, right? Jeez. Yeah, where were we? The prequels are garbage. The guys have to understand this. Mike Stocklasa is completely right about all 3 films. I think he him and the Red Letter Media crew are not entirely wrong about this stuff. By the way, this thing does not usually turn the fan on. And it's going right now. That's pretty unusual. I think we're kicking a lot of horsepower here. Let me get out of that screen right there just in case something bad happens. I don't know. We have to give Red Letter Media some credit for the direction in which everything changed over on YouTube, for better or worse. If it was not for the Plinkett reviews, George Lucas is not bullied into selling Lucasfilm. Full stop. He would be able to retain that, pass it on to the rest of his family, whatever. Everything's being steered now so that you can't keep the company or the property you own. You have to sell it to a big corporation. Look, the chick that made Harry Potter, something's going to happen where her family can't afford to keep it if she dies, so they have to sell it to somebody else to reboot and all this sort of stuff. It's happened with Star Wars. It happens with everything. They have to make sure that the creator doesn't keep their work, but the companies can keep renewing the licenses and make new things and find some kind of attorney gymnastics to make all the money. And that's the way things work. But if Red Letter Media, haven't watched them in a while. I think a lot of their stuff, Jay bothers me. He has terrible taste and it kind of brings down things. But I think Mike, not that I would agree with him much, but I think he's fairly articulate with his takes, and Rich Evans is funny. But I might actually, taste-wise, I might actually agree with Rich Evans the most out of the three. But yes, if they didn't make their series, that Star Wars was in a comfortably sedated hibernation, and there was no reason for it to come up. That it was just we did the Star Wars, and that's what we did. And we did the prequels. But then the badgering of the prequels drives George Lucas to sell. Like, oh, you guys don't like what I'm doing? Okay, fine. You know, give it back to the fans. A stupid idea that the fans owned Star Wars. Yeah. Mary KK says, it seems that Moana 2 movie... Why? You know, I'm reading the messages, but you guys aren't necessarily channel members, all of you. I mean, Eric's participating, so that makes sense. But, yeah. Seems Moana 2 movie is doing well in the box office. Are kid movies the only thing that can make money nowadays? Horror works well because you have to have a room full of people getting scared to heighten the scares. Though, realistically, if you're surrounded by other potential victims or safety of being in public, you shouldn't feel scared, right? I mean, it's kind of counterintuitive. Will Secret Wars make $2 billion? Absolutely not. But Disney may have to make Avengers films always cross $2 billion as a save face measure. Like, okay, we don't mind eating a huge tax bill as long as it looks like our franchise is strong, because we can't make it look like the franchise is dead, right? Like I'm saying, who is left that cares, right? A lot of people feel like they saw the Avengers story wrapped up, and then here we go again, but now with less people you like. The Thunderbolts. Do I need to react to a Thunderbolts trailer? If you guys somebody tip something, I'll do the Thunderbolts trailer here. This was supposed to be a Star Wars stream, by the way. The Moana movie's making bucks, but it's being weird in how it's told. In previews, it made this much. 0.6 million more than, Emotional Day or something, or All Out, Stressed Out, in my head too, or something. I forgot. Yeah, and it's like, okay, that's a weird way to couch that. And now it's like, it made the most money on a Thanksgiving day. All right, well, now let's see what the weekend. Oh, but we're going to have like a 4-day weekend haul for it. So we can kind of, you know, gymnastic accounting our numbers to make it look super amazing. I would think that the toughest thing to do is to make a sequel to a Walt Disney Pictures film, because the Walt Disney Pictures films like Moana, not Pixar, are musicals. And if you have an iconic song like they did in the first film, where do you go from there? So that's what makes those hard to do, I feel like. Less hard to do when you do the live action remake, which I think they're already shooting with Dwayne Johnson. I've seen some picture. They got a wig on him. When you do the live action version of that stuff and you just do the song again, can we give much credit to that? Because that's creatively bankrupt, if you ask me. Hey, like the later stress better. I think you're trying to say I like the later Star Wars better. I don't know, starting. You like the later start at 8 is much better because people can have time to watch the... No, what I say is I'm going to start at 7:30 and then I screw up everything and then have to make up a new stream and then it gets started at 8, essentially. It's kind of what seems to have happened. Photos are leaked of Destiny. So what? Who's Destiny? Might be over the Debate King. I don't know who Destiny is. Huh? Well, you watch the new Craven movie that's coming out. I saw a tie-in with the Baltimore Ravens and their kicker, who's like the greatest kicker in NFL history, but he's having an off year. So it would look really bad to like cut him. But he's like, I want to go by the name Craven and let's call ourselves the Baltimore Cravens. When we have to do acting with non-actors, this is what we get. Because, hey, why hire people that are experienced when we can get names or recognizable athletes or quasi-recognizable people to do stuff and pay them a ton of money when we can get actors that do stuff for almost free, right? Yeah, I have no hope for the Craven stuff. All of that Sony offshoot, not quite Spider-Man, debatable if we're going to truly integrate it. What's wrong with me? If that's not going to tie into the Spider-Man stuff and they don't even know what they're doing with Spider-Man, screw it. Been bitten by that stuff too many times with the limited I've watched. Like that Venom 2 was awful enough. So I'm not seeing The Last Dance. But, you know, when you see the headline, Spider-Man 4 in the works, it's like, yeah, cool. And then it talks about that, you know, scrawny British kid that hangs out with the black, half-black beanpole gal. Well, gee, Mr. Stark, that Spider-Man, that's not what people want in Spider-Man. When they hear Spider-Man 4, people are like, yes, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, even though Andrew Garfield's better. They're still like, wow, yes. Oh, no, man, you got that kid that can't do any movie unless it's Spider-Man. No one cares about him otherwise. Christ, like that's not what you want, right? Get off my Phase 5. What is that? Boom, we are war Zimmer music. Oh, wait, are you commenting on when I was watching the trailer there? Yeah, there's always that like womp, something gets blown up, everything's different. It's all changed now. There's no going back, you know, all that stuff. I see that trailer for that Peacock Jackal series, and you got the Lashana Lynch, the gal that helped kill James Bond. And she's hunting the Jackal, which is that guy that Eddie Redmayne, who isn't a good actor, by the way, can get into that later, but she's like chasing him down. She's like, I like to win. And I'm thinking, who doesn't? Like, maybe the line should have been, I'm okay with losing. Let's make a deal. You know, Christ, the people don't talk like this. And if they do, you don't like them. Should Kevin Feige step down? Yes. He certainly had a vision to tie a lot of stuff together. So you got people strung along with a bunch of bad movies. Congrats, right? So like, where do you go from there? I actually like that you're sharing and watching trailers live on your screens. It makes it more interactive, respond a lot better with the questions. Yep, no real environments appeal. Go somewhere. Shoot your movie outdoors without setting up a green wall. Like, what is the appeal of making things not look realistic with all this Marvel stuff? At the very least, with the Star Wars sequel trilogies, that first one in particular looked like they went places, right? Don says, would you rather have 1 million subs demonetized or direct a Star Wars movie? Christ. Let's go with the subs demonetized thing. That way you don't have to get hassled by everybody for making a bad Star Wars movie, right? Precisely, Mike really changed the game. We all knew these films were flawed, but Plinkett really put things into place. Yep. Plinkett, Mr. Plinkett gave everybody the ammo. They had the guns and they didn't know that they had them. They were like locked away. They were a little dusty. They still had a trigger lock on them, but he was like, here's the ammo. I hear Lucasfilm was losing a lot of money during the time, so he sold since he was getting too old. I mean, this is kind of, but I think that if he was beloved and felt like the prequel trilogy was received as strong as he felt it should have been, then he wouldn't have sold, I feel like. Is Lily Reinhart hot to you? I'm trying to think who that is. Is that the girl in Hustlers that throws up a bunch? She was actually one of the better looking ones there. I think she's on a the Archie show that CW was doing or something, right? Is it CW? It's not WB, right? CW? UPN? What was your worst dating experience? Who's your favorite Jedi? Who is your favorite Sith? Favorite Jedi. Trying to think, who are the Jedi here? Is Luke Skywalker really a Jedi? Because it's kind of like, if you don't have someone making a black belt for you, but you're like super amazing at Kung Fu, but there's no Kung Fu masters, right? To give you the black belt in the fourth Dan Taekwondo or whatever, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, then are you officially that or are you something else? Because doesn't Luke Skywalker kind of run around as like a Jedi Knight in Return of the Jedi? But if he's the highest ranking living Jedi, but he's only a knight, then he's never a master. Am I wrong? So, I mean, I guess probably may have to, oh man, come to think of it. Did the Obi-Wan series solely Obi-Wan Kenobi? Sure didn't do him any favors, but I guess I'd have to swing Obi-Wan Kenobi on that one, George Lucas was pretending. Oh, favorite Sith. I suppose Darth Vader, right? Yeah, I mean, there's a few of these guys that I guess can play both sides, but who's going to honestly say Count Dooku? Where was the appeal in that? I feel like a big misstep was having this cool-looking villain with actual moves and killing him off. Yes, he dies, because it's not like, 20 years later we'll say he didn't die when he was cut in half. We get rid of him and we don't bring back, Darth Maul. Look, all you gotta do is say everything Count Dooku did, replace him with Darth Maul, like CGI out the 80-year-old guy and put in Darth Maul, and you have a better series already, right? Probably doesn't need to die at the beginning of Revenge of the Sith. Maybe save that for Act 2. or 3 for that matter, right? Wouldn't that have been better? Yeah, but they don't pay me to make Star Wars. And of course, I mean, now these are suggestions for things that went bad, how to improve them. Going new, where to go now, that's the tricky part. Hold on, I'm getting caught behind here. George Lucas was pretending that we were all racist because no one saw Red Tails. Had nothing to do with the garbage prequels. Nah, nothing at all. In the field in which Lucasfilm operates, as he's pointed out, he can't afford to have a failed movie. Like, hey, we're going around trying to get, we got this great idea for a movie, Red Tails, about the Tuskegee Airmen, black guys, they're pilots, and okay, the effects don't look great, whatever. There's problems with the movie. I've seen most of it on TV. I think I watched it on FX, basic cable. Yeah, he was going around saying that the studios were racist because they wouldn't make this movie. Boy, I mean, if only I could say everybody's racist because they don't want me to perform stand-up comedy at their house, right? Like, I mean, that certainly is a place of privilege to be able to sling that around. But if the movie was great and didn't make a lot of money, that'd be a whole nother thing, wouldn't it? Evidently, LeBron James likes it because he has to round up his squad and then say, we fight, whatever. Some kind. He can't do anything original. Screw that. Are you more tired of Star Wars TV series or Marvel? Probably more tired of the Marvel stuff. I feel like there is way too much to keep track of in a far shorter span of time. It's very condensed. With Star Wars, it's pretty clear who's on what side and things. And there's been, at this point, I have foregone a great deal of Star Wars TV stuff, but I'm not, I mean, I certainly wouldn't even get into the Marvel things. And it's not like any of them's good, right? Like, when you have the Acolyte on one side, you also have Echo on the other. I say Echo and none of you remember what I'm talking about. That's where this is going, right? So, but and also let's not call that a TV series. Now, I mean, the stuff's not really on TV by any means. Has Ridley Scott lost his touch as a director? I thought that people were supposed to be under the impression that Star Wars or Gladiator 2 would prove that he was back. But I've seen Alien Covenant, and that kind of tells you enough, right? Like, nope, it's over. And that was in 2012, wasn't it? No, I'm not. Prometheus, I'm saying. Yeah, that was 2012. Man. Alien Covenant's only 5 years later. But that 5 years feels like a much further time than to say 2019 was 5 years ago, doesn't it? What else do we have here? Who is currently best director right now? I don't think we have one. The movies just don't have the relevance they used to. People are drifting further from where you could meet a kid in the 90s and be like, what's your favorite movie, right? And everybody had a favorite movie. It was just assumed people would have a favorite movie like they have a favorite flavor of ice cream. Try asking a kid what their favorite movie is now, and I'm not sure they really care. Oh, I just watched this kid play Minecraft. Does that count? I watched Minecraft streams. Like, that's not a movie, but that's what they watch. So now you're just going to have to ask a kid who their favorite streamer is, right? It's gotten that bad. We got more people, but a lot of us are now making our own content, right? So we're the competition to the movies. Ends up with, not many people caring about movies, right? Good question on Luke. He only says he is a Jedi at the end of Return of the Jedi. There are no Jedi left, though. He has the most knowledge of that religion. Is he de facto a Jedi master? I thought at one point he was being labeled as a Jedi Knight, either there or in a PC game or something where in those whereabouts. Am I wrong? I don't believe he was ever called a Jedi Master. In fact, and I don't want to do it, but now I'm wondering if you comb through the sequel trilogy, if he's alluded to as a Jedi Master. That's what I'm curious about. Would you move to LA and live there for 20 years if you were offered $20 million to work as a writer for movies? Probably not, because there's no revenue in the scene now. You'd have, I mean, look, how much more Fast and Furious and even Mission Impossible can you shell out at this point? These things are at the end of the rope. And then the things that are easily revived, the Marvel, the Star Wars, people are tired of that too. So where do you go from here? You're better off being a Minecraft streamer, right? Microsoft is not going to let Minecraft die. You can't screw up something that people are making for them on their own, right? You don't, okay, they have a Minecraft movie. They don't need it. The Minecraft movie with Jack Black and the guy from Fast 10 and whatever, Aquaman, it doesn't need to be a hit or the game disappears. It's just kind of like, oh, here's some extra income we can make on Minecraft. If you get enough bad Star Wars movies, Star Wars kind of goes away, doesn't it? But people keep sticking around playing the Minecraft. Rey should have joined Kylo at the end of Last Jedi. It would have rescued the film, but it wouldn't have rescued the film, but it'd be a great cliffhanger and incentive to see the last one. Agreed. That's what I was saying earlier. I feel like I had that take before other people. It would have been like, now we're in some uncharted territory. The person you guys all thought was this Mary Sue who was amazing at everything is now the bad guy. What do you do now? Now I'm compelled to see the third film instead of waiting to watch it for free somewhere or some shit, you know? Would you rather be a famous YouTuber or famous comedian? Let's go with famous comedian, because you can parlay that to other things. The famous YouTuber thing, look, if you're a famous YouTuber, you're kind of stuck always having to do YouTube. You can't even, the way these things are set up, you can't even really leave the platform. Your audience stays on the platform. They don't come with. Who is more hot, Rey Palpatine or Stormfront from The Boys? I mean, really going with a big neither there. Who is more hot? I think Arya Stark gets a bad rap. I don't know who that is. Some Game of Thrones character. I don't know which chick that is, though. She earned her stripes in Game of Thrones compared to Rey. Arya, am I even saying that right? Had everyone she loved killed, went to ninja school, became blind, and became a cold killer. Makes sense. I don't know. I kind of think ninjas kind of need their sight, but I mean, I'm not a ninja. I'm definitely not a ninja master, but a mere youngling ninja, right? What caused the Halo TV series to suck? Taking a ton of liberties with a property that had a defined story, if not clear. Certainly starts off easy enough to follow, but the Halo TV series, for that to have worked would have required retelling, probably starting with Halo Reach, and then second season would have to be like Halo Combat Evolved. And people would have, it's like the Harry Potter stuff. Like, you have to do everything verbatim in the book or people have a fit, right? Well, you have to do everything as it's presented in the cinematics of the game, or people have a fit. It was, so you've got the roadmap in front of you and you have to follow it. There's no room for creative freedom. I think season 2 certainly tried to improve things, but the damage was done. And it's on not the most popular streaming platform. You know, people were already checked out after all the crazy shit that was happening in the first season, and they didn't really do enough to fix it. I mean, bare minimum, people wanted Master Chief to stay in his armor, and they couldn't handle that. So, what would cause Disney to sell Star Wars? Intriguing. Boy, they're going to have to lose some money. In a way in which they feel like they've done everything they can. Disney would have to have a Warner Brothers Discovery type problem. Like, there'd have to be a merger that brings in some kind of cost-cutting CEO who then starts selling off the brands. Like, we'll probably be seeing soon enough with Warner Brothers Discovery, where they could be losing DC. And then who does DC sell to? Who's left, right? They could go, Comcast, NBC, Universal, right? Or it could end up in Disney's hands. Or we might even go higher than that. Go outside of the entertainment companies. Google buys DC Comics. You see what I'm saying? Like, these are sort of things that could possibly happen. So if Apple bought Disney, real possibility of Disney, or at Disney, Apple, Disney, whatever, selling Star Wars, like that, to cut costs. Like, these are the sort of things that happen, right? Could the Halo series become more popular than Star Wars if done right? They waited way too long. They should have had a movie around about 2005. No, certainly no later than 2009. Okay, 2 years after Halo 3, we've got the Halo High is strong. We're waiting for Halo Reach to come out. Like, this would have been the time to strike with a movie series. And if the Halo movie stuff was strong enough, we could have had a pretty good run, like a trilogy or the like, anthology or something with Halo stuff. By doing the streaming series, it diminishes the brand's value. It wasn't even a movie series to start with that then gets relegated to streaming. It's just a bad look. But now you waited too long, and now there's no money at the box office for things that expensive that are unestablished movie properties. It kind of ends up being a problem, doesn't it? Oh, if we can't bring Master Chief into the MCU, what do we do? Say, like, that's the way the bean counters would approach. Eric Brown says, eventually you guys will need new great content, but you have 100 years of great films and 30 years of great games to play. It may not sound optimistic on the industry, but it is what it is. Okay, so if we surmise that all the best movies that'll ever be made have been made, or the best books that have been written or whatever, are people just simply going to be okay with rediscovering the things from the past, or does it have to be new, like in sports? We only have is LeBron James the GOAT over Michael Jordan conversation because LeBron James is in the league right now. When LeBron James is out, we no longer have to bring him into the conversation. We have to find a guy playing now and ask if he can reach Michael Jordan levels. That's the way those things go, because they're geared around pitching to you to watch the new product. I have a theory, and I want to go on that Michael Jordan fans are the best, again, to say this. So I'm just going to kind of say it here because I got a captive audience. NBA ratings are down big right now, and I feel like the reason why is the three-pointer. Now, I know there are a lot of other reasons, but if people are sitting back to jack up threes, even on fast breaks, rather than going for the dunk or a cool reverse layup, you're doing something everybody watching can do. If we give my mom enough time, an hour, she can sink a three-pointer, uncontested. No amount of time will get my mom to dunk at all, ever, period. People are not inclined to watch athletic events of things they can do. We'll watch football because, wow, I can't get hit like that. I'm not 6'5". I can't go up over the cornerback and grab this touchdown. That's a great catch. Look how fast he is. Look how hard he hits. NBA basketball is a bunch of tall guys doing stuff anybody can do. Now, if they was some kind of incentive to dunk, shit, let the dunk be worth 3 points and see how that changes things, right? The more you know. Do, right? Hey, did I just solve basketball's problems? Yep. Yeah, that's the way that goes. Don't know anything about Bollywood stuff. A lot of people don't realize that Nigeria actually has a big movie scene. They call it Nollywood. Kind of weird. But I don't know if this has changed much, but it's like their stuff is like bootlegged VHS quality home movies. But that is the entertainment they like. You can bring Bollywood, Hollywood movies over to Nollywood, but people just want to watch the comfortable, weird stuff about aunts and uncles being possessed and funerals, comedies. And that's what they watch in Nigeria. People, I mean, look, when I'd say Tom Cruise is the biggest movie star, somebody will throw out some guy named Khan or whatever from Bollywood, Indian. No one around here knows who he is. I guarantee you everybody in India knows who Tom Cruise is. So who made the better point, right? What caused horror movies in the 80s and 90s to add sex scenes and nudity to their movies? Did it make... I think there's a morality play aspect to it where it seems like particularly the 80s horror stuff. It doesn't really happen much in the 90s really, but the 80s horror stuff, it's all the kids that are misbehaving get killed. So like the nice good girl that doesn't even drink the beer, she'll be the final girl. Like you see what I'm saying? In general, I guess that changes up a little bit for, something that's aware of the horror, like Scream. But yeah, I think there is that aspect to it. Somewhat inclined to try to revisit the Friday the 13th movies again for the hell of it. Just to see if there is a way to really differentiate them. Because after a while, once Jason gets the hockey mask, it is just on autopilot. It is just simply more people come to Camp Crystal Lake or Crystal Lake for him to kill. And that is the plot going forward. Recurring characters, growth, dynamics, nothing happens. A greedy developer doesn't come in and renovate the lake and force Jason to look like the hero. Nothing. People simply come to the lake and so that they can get killed by Jason, or he goes to Manhattan. It's dumb shit, right? Why is the TV series The Boys so appealing to people? I think people like they're tired of the Marvel stuff, so they're looking for the edgy anti-Marvel thing, but it's way too try-hard. It's so on the nose with trying to be like opposite Batman and opposite Superman over here, and okay, the characters are a little more like DC stuff. You know, you kind of have like Black Flash, right? We got an Aquaman, Wonder Woman. Yeah, it is very much more like the DC things, come to think of it. But they're burned out on the Marvel stuff, so they need something that kind of it's the closest we would get to the spoof now, where we don't really remember how we had like superhero movie, epic movie, Meet the Spartans or something. We don't do those spoof things anymore, but we will do the like edgy anti version. And that's what people are trying to get into, right? Why is the TV series Stranger Things so popular? It seems to be kind of boring to me. The reason is you got the 80s backdrop with all the nostalgia for the adults, And then you have the kids that appeal to the child audience. So the kids now are growing up with those kids, but everybody else is wrapped up in it. It doesn't hurt that it was like the first streaming series on Netflix that really gave a damn about production value. Before that, you wouldn't look at Orange is the New Black and think, wow, this looks amazing, right? But Stranger Things looks like a movie, essentially. To have that kind of care put in the production, I think goes a long way. And so it becomes like the story of the adult's childhood and, hey, I remember that. And then the kids kind of grow up looking fondly at the 80s stuff too. So there's cross-generation appeal. I think that pretty much explains that. What else do we have here? Would you rather be a director or a writer in the film industry? The writers are easily vetoed. The director gets all the blame, and I'm not even sure if they really do much these days, given that it seems like the studios make stuff. But in theory, if you actually had that auteur theory control, then yeah, sure, I take director. What time are we looking at here? Does this not have a timer on it? Like, how do I see how much time we're in? Right? Like, I can't see that on this OBS stream here. If I pull this up, does this say? No idea. Average view, 5 minutes. Hey, that's not too bad, right? Like, I could do a lot worse, but yeah, you definitely want to be a director. People know directors' names at least, right? Script. Because look, if you're the famous novelist, then people might know your name. No one knows the name of a like famous screenwriter unless they're like a complete hack, right? Oh, it's Aaron Sorkin. Wow, you did something based on something that actually happened. So impressive. Yeah. Is it true that comedians get tons of chicks? Pretty much, yep. Because look, I've had shows where I was like the middle act and there were girls hounding me and I almost couldn't leave the damn place. It was almost like, you know, One Direction type shit. And I wasn't even like headlining. So yeah, pretty much. Because look, if you get up on a stage and do something and people think you did a good job, then they want in on that in some way. So that's one way to go about it. Is if Disney offered you a job to work as a writer for 10 projects for $50,000, would you do it for fun? I mean, I'd do it for the $50,000, I guess. And I don't know exactly how much work here, kind of like punch up the script, you know, correct their errors. Hey, I spot an anachronism. Your skeleton crew probably shouldn't be set in the neighborhood from E.T., right? I think James Gunn Superman will do all right. Me neither. People seem to really like Henry Cavill. So for him to not be Superman seems, especially when he's in a stage of his life where he can still go as Superman. I don't think that people are, you know, warming up to that. I don't think that's a good look, but I don't think the Superman thing's going to work. I think he's going to make his, you know, oddly comedic Superman, and the vibe is not going to gel with people. And at this point, we've probably seen enough of a guy that can not get shot, and he can fly, and heat vision, and X-ray vision. Like the powers left, and I don't know what story is left to tell. Do we do the origin again? Like, do we have to get a new origin story each time and put your own spin on it? I don't think people are inclined to keep hearing the same story. Like, I don't think it's going to work. Will James Gunn's Superman be better than you're saying Jack Snyder. Jack Snyder, the greatest hack that ever lived, who sailed the 7 seas. Yeah. Man of Steel has its moments. And to try to be as serious as it did for a Superman was fairly bold, but the characterization of Superman was way off. I felt like hey, yeah, it doesn't matter. This place blowing up behind me. Okay, I'll just hop over this. You can blow up that building behind me. Surely that was empty, vacated, whatever, because we're fighting. You know, no big deal. I don't have to save a lot of people. Screw it. Right? Then you have Ben Shapiro saying that Superman is reduced to rescuing people, right? Oh, like that, or no, he says like Batman had to rescue people, that they reduced Batman to rescuing. It's like, but I've seen some Batman stuff. He does a lot of rescuing people. It's not, you know, he doesn't have to be fighting a villain all the time. Sometimes there's people that are held hostage he then rescues. So loaded argument. Ben Shapiro operates in that straw man argument space, doesn't he? Like, wow. Unless it's, you know, college kids, he'll debate them, right? Stand-up comic, it does not look easy. Rodney was doing it for 40 years, and he only started getting recognition. Yeah, no respect to tell you. He doesn't get any respect till he's like 45, and then they finally let him on TV. That's reverse kind of where I'm headed, it seems like. Though I got on TV in my 20s on Comedy Central, and then they had enough of me, right? What made Guardians of the Galaxy so interesting and popular? There's a few things. Chris Pratt launching helped. We weren't tired of Chris Pratt in a way, and I think that his comedy sensibility is less grating than Ryan Reynolds. I feel like with Deadpool, you can handle one Deadpool movie, but then I still haven't watched Deadpool and Wolverine, but it's just like, I've seen enough of this. Like, he's too irritating. With Guardians of the Galaxy, they might have actually benefited from having a bunch of heroes and characters that people were not familiar with, so that they could be excited about it, rather than be like, oh, great, how are they going to screw this up? Right? Oh, Guardians of the Galaxy, they're my favorite. It's like, I've never heard of them. Let's give it a try. That raccoon that's a cool effect. See, so it's a little bit easier to kind of do it that way. And I mean, they were riding a wave where they couldn't do any wrong in the box office figures. So introducing Guardians of the Galaxy 2014, kind of the right time for that. You couldn't introduce that now, though they're kind of doing a new version of Guardians of the Galaxy / Suicide Squad in that, what is it? The Thornberries or something? Thunderbolts, right? Like, they're doing that like it's the new version of the Guardians of the Galaxy thing by way of Suicide Squad or something. And people are kind of sick of it. You know, I think that Dwayne Johnson's, oh man, what was his superhero called again? I saw it. Black Adam. Part of why that doesn't work is you bring in a bunch of guys that have to battle Black Adam, and they have abilities that we've seen beat to the punch. We've seen these guys, they're parallel in the Marvel universe years ago, so now they're not bringing anything new to the table. So if you have like a super fast guy, you need to have him out before the other guys do it, right? Maybe we saw too much Quicksilver, that by the time we got to the Flash, it wasn't that impressive. Would you rather date Jodie Comer or Elizabeth Olsen? Oh, geez. Big no, both directions. Is Micah Monroe hot and a good act? She's a terrible actress. I believe I had this real clever line that she's an actress in the sense that light bounces off of her face and is reflected back at the camera. And therefore that makes her an actress, because she's terrible in the stuff I've seen her in. Have not seen Longlegs. Might wait for it to pop up on some streaming service. Don't want to buy a 4K for $25. Did you ever watch Mad Men TV series? No, I did not. I heard it's a classic for masculinity. It's set in the 60s, so they get to do that. There was a thing where there was like a lot of rowdy behavior in like 70s and 80s teen type movies set in the 50s, because then it was like safer to be set in the past. Like, for what good reason does Animal House need to be set in the 50s? You see what I'm saying? Like, oh, well, they're misbehaving, but if we get the teens to think that that's antiquated in a way, then that it doesn't have to be our kids aren't out doing that in 1983, or, you know, things like that's the way of thinking. So, being set in the 60s, they have a license to smoke cigarettes? Like, can't do that now and stuff, right? Even if you're the villain. Rated R for cigarettes. Chris Reeve and RDJ are great casting, but Chris Hemsworth was GOAT casting to me. I only see Thor with that guy. I was not too thrilled about his casting at first, because I thought he doesn't seem tall enough. Kind of envisioned Thor being taller yet, like Dolph Lundgren in the least, right? But yeah, I mean, he made the role his own in a way, and also had like a weird formal mythical quality about him, like just this weird way he would talk. It was very unearth-like, you know, like if you could envision the people of Viking lore talking like this, then I guess it could happen. And he kind of made it work. And I think that the first Thor movie, it's funnier than it probably needed to be, but I thought that the comedy actually worked in it. So, will this new Superman movie make or break the DC universe? I mean, they can just restart it again whenever they want, right? Do you have to get rid of James Gunn to restart it? That's the question. It's kind of like when the quarterback's not working out, so you fire the GM and the head coach, and then they have to bring in their guy, right? Because they're not just going to take over, you know, have their job killed because this current loser quarterback's doing bad, right? So what happens? Is Ella Purnell from the Fallout TV series hot and good actress? She seems to be okay actress. She has a cute factor about her, but that's about it, really. I am actually certainly more inclined to watch more Fallout than a lot of other stuff. Maybe it actually helps that I don't care much for the game series, so I can't be too upset about it. Whereas the Halo stuff, it's like, oh, wrong. Yeah, so much wrong. There's more liberties to be taken with Fallout thing where you're playing as just some guy experiencing the setting. So Fallout can be told from somebody else's eyes, whereas Halo, you're kind of stuck with, if we're going to have Master Chief in this, it has to be about him. And we know some of his exploits, so therefore we have to get this right. So, yeah. Was Palpatine right in getting rid of corporate republic and replacing it with orderly, strong empire? Is being a dictator ever cool? Trying to think if we are ever shown a cool dictatorship in stuff. If we lived under a dictatorship, we would probably get a lot of media telling us that dictatorships are awesome, like North Korea, right? Where we're going to have like a bunch of pop songs about Dear Leader or something. So I think that the media is going to reflect what's in power there, especially when it has to. It's not just like, oh, there's only one ruler, but we're forced to make a movie about him. So we may as well, right? Now we go, well, there's a lot of fat, ugly people out there, so let's make sure they're represented. And so we do that. It will be interesting if by the end of this decade, the Ozempic stuff is like essentially free, because the government will decide that it's cheaper to get people skinny than it is to pay for all their impending health emergencies as fat. It'll be interesting if that happens. Was Palpatine right? Probably not. I mean, it's a huge area to control basically by himself. We don't even have a real good sense of how governors or anything else is ran over there under him. You have some ships that show up. People lived in fear, but was crime down? I mean, in places that fall under the rule of the Republic? Kind of seemed like it, right? The stuff on the outskirts, Tatooine, wasn't that outside? Then you have like the gangs controlling it. So it's kind of like, what do you want to deal with? Do you want to deal with the clear leadership or, you know, be in the middle of a gang war with the Hutts and things? So, I mean, hell, there was crime happening over on Coruscant, right? We had death sticks dealers or shit in the nightclub. And what's your thoughts on Phase 5 of Marvel? They only put out 4 movies within 2 years. Are they learning their lesson? What are the movies? Are we in Phase 5? Is Phase 5 a thing? Let me type this in over here. Marvel Phase 5. Your MCU Phase. Here, let's go to the browser. Why is that in Spanish? I don't know. Marvel Phase 5, new MCU movie and Disney Plus show, release dates confirmed, cast. So is Brave New World, is that it? Captain America Brave New World, like the first Phase 5? Okay, hold on. Phase 5, latest rumors, cinematic universe, current phase, which is Phase 5, which ends in July 2025. So what are we doing? Phase 5, Phase 6 hub. Okay, hold on here. Okay, so are the 2 movies Captain America, Brave New World, and the Thunderbolts, and that's like it? Because, like, I guess I'm not understanding this. What are your thoughts on the Phase 5? Will the Thunderbolts movie suck? Probably. Don't like Florence Pugh. Florence Pugh, right? I know you can't stand Florence Pugh. Okay, for some reason. Okay, there you go. Yeah, so, yeah, I wouldn't count on that being any good. Why did they cancel the Blade series? That's weird. Is it possible that Blade is canceled for being teased in the Eternals? Isn't he off camera saying something like, "That's a nice sword" or something to that Jon Snow guy who, and then it's kind of like everything that the Eternals touched, we're just going to pretend didn't happen. So by trying to play the Eternals as a teaser for Blade, we ended up canceling Blade. Something to think about, right? And people like the actor too, Mahershala Ali. They like him. They also like Wesley Snipes' Blade too. So I guess the main actor didn't want it to be feminist, so eventually they canceled it for... That could be the case. They could have said, you know what? You went against the feminism angle, and therefore we got to take the keys away from the car, right? You're drunk. You don't want to go home. Bartender, take the keys, something like that. That could have been it. Maybe they said, we still want to push the feminist agenda thing. Before, they were all in on the Kamala Harris stuff. So they wanted to do the more woke, but they didn't realize what could happen. And now they're going to have to retool things. That's my thinking. And we're still going to see some media come out that was still under the impression that the woke way was the way to go, that is. So it's going to take a couple years before we really start to see the fruition of the the second Trump supremacy or whatever of how that's going to shape entertainment. I am honestly in such a better mood that Trump won, and seeing like the little changes since then than I expected. You know, there doesn't seem to be a weird pushback. He will not divide us thing happening like there was first time around. Are you disappointed in the casting for the Fantastic Four? Yes, I can't stand that they cast Pedro Pascal. He's like in every movie. Like, yeah, he's almost like, can we get we have to have a Hispanic guy, but it can't be Michael Pena. Who can we get? Like, we have to have a Hispanic guy that's put together and has a lot of glorious hair, right? So, yeah, he is kind of like Michelle Yeoh in that regard. I don't like Vanessa Kirby as the Invisible Woman. Like, she looks like she's had weird work done on her face. Could they not have gotten somebody a little on the younger side? Like, I don't understand. And also, the Stranger Things kid that was Eddie, and he's in Quiet Place 2. A Quiet Place before, no, A Quiet Place Day 1, right? What is he bringing as the Human Torch? I don't fully understand why we need to do the Fantastic Four again in this way. Is this supposed to be like a test run for rebooting the X-Men as the way to bring, like, okay, let's see if this works, and if that works, that'll be the approach we bring the X-Men into the MCU with? Is that the plan here? Yeah. Are the Russo brothers overrated? Are they rated? Because they seem to have one thing anybody watched, and it wasn't You, Me, and Dupree. So I guess they're just guys that rubbed elbows with the right people and were handed project. How much credit can you give somebody for running with something from characters that have been established 50 years ago? I would say not much. And their movies look like garbage too. So, you know, why should they even be rated at all, right? I think we should kind of wrap up here, guys. It's 10 o'clock here. I can't see how long the stream's gone. Do you miss the 90s? I do, but then sometimes I think about how things, like, I think the 90s is certainly a net positive, but to not have Bluetooth headsets or earbuds, to not have the Wi-Fi, to not have the smartphone, there certainly are problems, but man, if you really knew what you were doing and you had it together, you could have been so much more productive back then. Whereas now everything is designed to kill your productivity so you can just be some mindless consumer, need more media, eat popcorn, watch movie, you know. Or rather, they want you to watch streaming series so that you can suck up minutes viewed, right? So, all right. So does the picture look better here? I think we're kind of getting like 60 frames per second, or where in the likes, like something. This should be better. Is it even 1080p? I think it could go up to that. Yeah, we could. I'm hoping, all told, was the setup improved? Does this look like the kind of presentation that would elicit, should I say, double-digit viewership? So for next week, could that happen? Would that not be intriguing to have double-digit viewership? That'd be pretty interesting, wouldn't it? What do I have in the pipeline? I do need to do commentaries for Alien Romulus and Bad Boys Ride or Die. I think they went with die more than ride in that movie. But, well, they did kill that DJ Khaled, right? So that was a plus. But, yeah, I'm going to have to review something. I just did a I just did a podcast and I need to edit that and get that up. But my mom also explained the Terminator. So I'm going to have to put a video out showing, you know, clips from the movie of her not getting that explanation right. Why don't you like Florence Pugh? Weird body, weird gnome body. She's one of these girls who is everywhere because she's British but can do the American accent. And so it's like, wow, you impressed us with your acting, right? But she's kind of on the bleeding edge of the, well, somebody's got to get naked for the part, so it may as well be me. And it's like, oh my God. Or, hey, I want to be the first one to do the naked scene in the IMAX. I'm breaking barriers. I get to walk around whatever city with the thinnest material dress ever for attention. Just, what's to like about her? So, I mean, look, at least that Cara Delevingne, however you say her last name, at least she can play guitar behind her back, like behind the back of her head. Like, at least that's kind of impressive. So yeah, Florence Pugh, what's to like about her? There you go. Shit, maybe I need to expound on that for an upcoming thing. But you know, I think I think that when we look back at this and we say, hey, clear audio, better picture, you know, what's to complain about here, right? Hell, it almost kind of looks like the colors ain't even that off. So let's end on that note, shall we? And this time I'm going to hit end stream and then end broadcast. So there's that.